The Chancellor publicly searches for his lost son, claiming my fishmonger fiancé is the child he lost years ago. In my past life, when I sensed something was amiss and tried to take him away, he had me beaten half to death. Now I'm the Chancellor's son, destined to marry a noble lady. How dare you, a mere village woman, try to climb above your station? But he doesn't know, he was used as the catalyst in a life-swapping ritual. Reborn. I personally delivered him to the Chancellor. Does he look like a sacrificial pawn? Your son? Seeing the Chancellor's missing child notice plastered on the city gate again, I felt momentarily dazed. In my past life, he'd plastered such notices throughout the city, spending a fortune searching for his lost son. I'd merely watched the spectacle then, but within days, a grand procession stormed into our humble Wuyun alley. They declared my fishmonger fiancé, Qing Lang, to be the Chancellor's missing son. Qing Lang froze on the spot, his eyes brimming with excitement he couldn't hide. The Chancellor's servants hurriedly escorted Qing Lang back to the mansion. Neighbors, regardless of their relationship with him, scrambled to curry favor. Only I sensed something was terribly wrong. How could Qing Lang possibly be the Chancellor's son? He looked almost exactly like his father, who made a living fishing. His father had died barely 2 years ago. Had everyone forgotten? Qing Lang was just a fishmonger. Every day he hung the largest, fattest fish outside my door. When I stepped out, he'd hide, too shy to meet my gaze. I thought him an honest, decent man, and 2 years later, I accepted his marriage proposal. That's precisely why I feared for his safety. I spent every last coin to send him a message through an intermediary, arranging to meet him at the back gate of the Chancellor's residence. But I never imagined I'd be met by Qing Lang's attempt to silence me. That day, 4 or 5 burly men beat me to the brink of death, shattering every bone in my body. Only as I lay dying did Qing Lang emerge from the back gate, dressed in rich brocade robes. He covered his nose and mouth, watching my death throes with disgust. Finally, he let out a sigh of relief. Su Yunyang. Oh, Su Yunyang. I am now the Chancellor's son. I will marry a noble lady someday. How dare you, a lowly commoner, try to climb above your station? Who knew a person's true nature could be hidden so deeply? So deeply that he deceived me for 2 years without me ever suspecting a thing. Yet it could also be so shallow. A mere hint of power and privilege was enough to expose his true colors completely. Thankfully, I've been reborn. This time, I saw the Chancellor's missing son notice first. Without hesitation, I tore it down and raced back to Wuyun Alley. Qing Lang had just returned from selling fish, reeking of the sea. Spotting me, he stepped back awkwardly. Don't come near, Yun Yang, he said sheepishly. I'm filthy. I'll only dirty you too. He played the role of the kind, simple man so convincingly. That's how he deceived me in my past life. I stared at him coldly, yet a smile touched my lips. It is filthy. Qing Lang froze. Before he could recover, I held up the notice. Look. The Chancellor is desperately searching for his youngest son, lost during their escape years ago. It says born on the 3rd day of the 4th lunar month, with a mole on his palm. That's you, isn't it? Qing Lang's eyes widened instantly. Forgetting all pretense of simplicity, he snatched the notice and scanned it from top to bottom, his face flushing with excitement. Could it be really me? I knew I wouldn't stay in this godforsaken alley forever, living with a bunch of lowly commoners. In his momentary fervor, he blurted out his true feelings. Snapping back to reality, he hurriedly checked my expression. I pretended not to have heard, joining his excitement. Hurry back to bathe and change. We're heading to the Chancellor's residence right now. All right. All right. Qing Lang sniffed his own scent, then scurried home with a look of disgust. Watching his retreating figure, I couldn't help but curve my lips upward. Little did he know, the Chancellor's residence wasn't searching for a lost young son at all, they were seeking a medicinal catalyst. Before meeting Qinglang in my previous life, I'd sneaked into the residence disguised as a servant to find him. While everyone bustled about preparing a banquet for the young master's return, I'd stumbled upon an exceptionally hidden courtyard. The Chancellor and his wife, who should have been joyfully reunited with Qinglang, now sat by a bed. Upon it lay a pale, unconscious youth. "My son, hold on just a little longer. Your father has found the medicinal catalyst. Once he trades his life for yours, you will recover." Terrified, I hid in a corner. I saw servants summoning them, saying Qinglang was searching for them. The Chancellor's wife sneered coldly. "That lowly commoner actually thinks he's my son? If it weren't for Master Xuanqing's method of swapping lives, which requires treating him as my own son to deceive heaven, I'd find even looking at him disgusting." Clearly, Qinglang was that sacrificial offering. The Chancellor's grand search was clearly for the sacrificial offering to swap his biological son's fate. Alas, in my past life, I was silenced by Qinglang before I could reveal the truth. This time, I choose to respect others' destinies. Once Qinglang changed into his finest attire, I grabbed his arm and dragged him toward the Chancellor's residence. On the way, he hesitated repeatedly, saying, "Yun Yang, I know you wish to stay by my side, but I've only just found my birth parents. If you accompany me now, you'd have no proper status and risk tarnishing your reputation. I can't bear to see you suffer such injustice. Wait for me a while longer. Once I've established myself, I'll speak to my family. I'll marry you with a grand procession." His words were earnest, every sentence considering my welfare, but listening to him made me want to vomit. Ha! He's just itching to get rid of me, isn't he? I feigned emotion and nodded thoughtfully. "I understand, Qinglang. Rest assured, I'll only see you to the gate of the Chancellor's residence." I thought, in case they question your birth date, I could vouch for you. Look, I even brought the birth chart from when we were betrothed. Qinglang beamed with delight. Upon reaching the Chancellor's gate, I rushed forward and called out, "Open the gate! I've found your young master." Qinglang stood poised at the foot of the steps, already adopting the airs of a young master. Soon the Chancellor emerged. I quickly pulled Qinglang forward and laughed. "Your Excellency, doesn't he look like your son?" The Chancellor asked several questions, and Qinglang answered each one about his background perfectly. Beaming with joy, he led Qinglang into the mansion. As for me, I watched Qinglang with tears welling up, as if I desperately hoped he'd turn back to take me with him. Qinglang felt so guilty he couldn't even meet my gaze. Everyone swarmed back inside. As the steward closed the door, I blocked the entrance. Smiling as I held out my hand, the notice said 100 taels for finding the Chancellor's biological son. Where's the money? Even if Qinglang couldn't recall it right away, he'd surely come to silence me later. But by the time he remembered, I'd long since left the capital. Ever since taking the Chancellor's silver, I'd been preparing to leave the city. Where in the world couldn't I go? But for some reason, on the very day I packed my bags to depart, the number of soldiers conducting checks doubled. Every passerby was questioned meticulously. Someone stopped me and demanded my hometown. His expression darkened upon seeing it. Whatever he whispered to his men, they swiftly surrounded me in a flurry of urgency. The elderly woman leading them grabbed my neck, her eyes fixated on the small mole there. As if suddenly certain of something, she pulled me close, tears streaming down her face. "Young miss, your old servant has finally found you. You are the long-lost daughter of our Minister of Revenue." Such familiar rhetoric. Good grief. The key ingredient turned out to be me. Fearing I might escape, they dragged and pulled me into the minister's residence. Minister Fong Nian, past 50, and his wife rushed to the door without even tidying their clothes. They embraced me and began weeping. "My daughter, you've suffered so much." I forced a stiff smile. Their tears of joy weren't feigned. Finding the scapegoat must have made those two old fools ecstatic. Now, even if I could escape and forget about actually getting away, their influence would keep me trapped within the capital. I feigned terror. How could I be your daughter? I clearly saw the beautiful Miss Fong selling vegetables on the street. Madame Fong gave a dry laugh. "My dear, you see, when you were little, a heartless servant swapped you. The other one was the fake. You are our true daughter." I closed my eyes, opened my mouth, and wailed at the top of my lungs. "Father! Mother! I've finally found you. I've been wandering since childhood, thinking you were long dead. Never imagined our family would reunite. Mother! I'm so hungry." They exchanged a brief, stunned look before snapping back to reality. Madame Fong hurriedly pulled me inside. "Quick! Someone prepare a meal." That evening, after ushering me into a lavishly appointed room, they repeatedly urged, "Dearest daughter, this is the room we've meticulously prepared for you. You'll sleep here from now on. With your parents here, you'll live in comfort from this day forward." I obediently agreed, though a cold sneer rose in my heart. Even the chairs in this room were carved from the finest sandalwood. I'd only just been found today. How could they possibly have prepared such a splendid room in time? Frowning, I examined the bed. Surely the person who had lain upon it before was the one meant to swap lives with me. Late that night, I found an excuse to dismiss the servants and slipped quietly to the courtyard of Minister Fong. Just then, I saw the elderly couple carrying lanterns toward a dilapidated small courtyard. I tiptoed after them and saw the courtyard, untended by servants, looked uninhabited. Suddenly, a woman's voice snapped. "How much longer must I live in this godforsaken place?" I edged closer cautiously and saw a woman about my age violently smashing things inside. She seemed unwell, coughing uncontrollably after every few movements. Madame Fong, heartbroken, hurried to support her. "My dear daughter, bear with it a little longer. We've found the medicinal catalyst. If we raise her as our own daughter and give her another month of the life-swapping potion Master Xin concocted, she'll soon be able to take your place in death. Once that happens, your madness will be cured." Will this method truly work? Of course it will. Fong Nian lowered her voice. The son of Chancellor Zhang, who was dying of consumption, opened his eyes and spoke yesterday after finding the medicine adjuvant. Master Xuanqing's method cannot fail. Fong Ruxing couldn't help but laugh. Good. Let that lowly village woman get her cheap thrill of enjoying my status. Once I swap lives with her, I'll make sure she dies in agony. I watched her with keen interest. Don't speak so soon. Whether this life can be exchanged is still up to me. Each of you wants my life, but I've already lost it once. This time, whoever wants mine, I'll take theirs. After returning, the maid brought me a bowl of soup, saying it was specially ordered by the mistress, who insisted on watching me finish it. A little probing revealed that, aside from Fong Nian and his wife, everyone else genuinely believed I was the long-lost young mistress. This was likely part of the life swap condition, to shield Fong Ruxing from misfortune. I had to take her fate first. The fewer who knew the truth, the better. My keen eyes spotted the maidservant's wrists and neck covered in wounds, both old and fresh. Oh my! What happened? I grasped her hand with concern. Why so many injuries? Have you suffered some injustice? Don't be afraid. Now that I've reclaimed my birth parents, I'm also a master of this household. I can help you. The maidservant froze, tears welling in her eyes with sorrow. It seemed no one in this household had ever treated her so kindly. "What's your name?" "This servant is Chunner." "Which courtyard do you serve in?" "I served the former young mistress." That Fong Rushing had a fiery temper and a heart as venomous as a snake's. Chunner must have endured constant beatings and scoldings by her side. I pulled her closer, growing more affectionate. "Don't be afraid. I too once lived in poverty. I'll protect you from now on. Chunner, I've just returned and know little yet. Why don't you tell me about my parents? Their likes and dislikes. The noble ladies and gentlemen they associate with, I want to know everything." Under the pretext of restoring my health, they confined me for several days, watching me drink medicine daily. On the 10th day, they finally took me out. I heard it was the Chancellor's son's birthday celebration, and the renowned Taoist master Qingxian was attending. I thought they couldn't wait to show the master how well this medicinal ingredient, me, had been cultivated. As soon as Fong Yan and the others arrived, they sought out Master Qingxian for a private discussion. I tried to sneak along in the crowd, but accidentally bumped into Qinglang. After days apart, he now wore brocaded robes and adorned himself with a fragrant pouch and a jeweled sword, the very image of a noble young master. His face paled the moment he saw me. Without a word, he yanked me toward a secluded spot. "Su Yun Yang, what brings you here?" When I remained silent, Qinglang lost patience with soothing me. He sneered coldly and shoved me hard. "You shameless slut! Now that I've made something of myself, you come clinging to me? Let me tell you, I'm destined to marry a noble lady. Do you, a mere tofu seller, think you're worthy? How many days has it been? Your face is paler than a corpse 3 days dead. You're barely clinging to life. Yet you still have the nerve to act all high and mighty?" I found it amusing. "Everyone says you're the son of the Chancellor. But don't you know the truth yourself?" Qinglang's face twisted in fury. He clamped his hand around my throat, gritting his teeth. "Shut your mouth. My father is the Chancellor, not that stinking fisherman." "Miss." Chunner arrived just in time, screaming in terror. Startled, Qinglang quickly released his grip. "What did you call her?" Chunner immediately stepped in front of me, declaring, "This is the young miss of the Ministry of Revenue. My master is Fong Yan, Minister of Revenue." Seeing Qinglang's stunned expression, I remarked meaningfully, "Who'd have thought? I've become a noble lady myself." That venomous look on Qinglang's face told me he wouldn't let this go. When I had nothing, he sought to destroy me. Now that I possess the means to oppose him and perhaps even expose his true identity, he won't rest easy as long as I live. After dinner, Lady Fong escorted me to meet Master Qingxian. The demonic priest scrutinized me from head to toe before nodding with satisfaction. A chill ran down my spine. I excused myself, claiming illness, and retired to the guest quarters. No sooner had I reached my room than I received a secret note from Qinglang, delivered by his men. He claimed his earlier actions were a momentary lapse, insisting he'd always intended to marry me and begged me to meet him outside. Was he about to make his move? I burned the note with a cold laugh and sent word back, arranging to meet him behind the rockery. Passing the rear courtyard of the Prime Minister's residence earlier, I'd noticed several guards stationed behind the rockery. Clearly, an important guest was conversing there. Who else could command such treatment within the Chancellor's estate? Qinglang relied on his status as the Chancellor's son, unaware his worth was utterly worthless. I'd see if the Chancellor would protect him when he caused trouble. Sure enough, as I crept closer, chaos erupted near the rockery. Several black-clad figures wrestled with the guards, they clearly sensed something amiss. Qinglang told us to kill a woman. Didn't he? Why is it a man? Run. But it was too late. Guards poured in. Someone shouted, an assassination attempt on His Highness the Crown Prince. Seize them. The Crown Prince? My eyes widened as I stared at the man in black robes. His features sharp and cold. Watching Qinglang's hired thugs prepare to fight to the death, attempting to take the crown prince hostage and flee. I charged forward without hesitation, blocking the man's path. "Your Highness, be careful." The blade tip pierced my back. The searing pain made me stumble, crashing into the crown prince's embrace. Seeing the shock on his face, my heart pounded wildly. He's holding me. My thigh. All this time, they've been feeding me life-swapping medicine, which has given me a touch of Fong Ruling's madness. Now it seems, going a little mad isn't so bad after all. Quick! Someone! Call the imperial physician. Hearing that, I finally exhaled, struggling to speak. "As long as your highness is unharmed." The crown prince's brow furrowed deeply. Then came the report. "Your Highness, the assassin has been captured." The crown prince only gave a cold snort. An assassination attempt on my person within the Chancellor's residence? I'll see just who dares to be so bold. The Chancellor beside him turned ashen instantly. Just then, Fong Nian and his wife arrived. Seeing me clinging to the crown prince, they were so shocked their legs went weak. "Your Highness, perhaps it would be best to entrust my daughter to me." Hearing this, I rolled my eyes and fainted. The crown prince scooped me up. His voice deep and firm. "She was injured saving me. How could I abandon her? Let's have the imperial physician examine her." Later I heard those assassins confessed everything without much interrogation. It was Qinglang who hired the killers. Whether he targeted the wrong person didn't concern the crown prince. An assassination attempt at the Chancellor's residence meant the Chancellor bore ultimate responsibility. Even if Qinglang was the crucial ingredient he painstakingly found, self-preservation came first. So he publicly performed a blood-sworn recognition, proving Qinglang was an imposter and that the assassination attempt was his own scheme. Qinglang wet himself on the spot. Kneeling, he begged the Chancellor for mercy, only to have the Chancellor slit his throat with a single stroke. Hearing all this, I felt this trip had truly been worth it. Not only had I gotten rid of that scum Qinglang, but I'd also escaped the Ministry of Rights. Just as I pondered how to leverage this life-saving favor to bargain with the Crown Prince, he abruptly insisted on sending me back. No amount of feigned weakness or pitiful pleas could sway him. "Miss Fong, your mother has fallen ill with grief over your absence. Lord Fong inquires about you daily before me. Since you are now well enough, you should return to the Ministry of Rights." My fists clenched tightly as my mind raced. If I returned now, I feared it would be only a matter of days before I was completely replaced by Fong Ruqing. Then, like Qinglang, I would be branded an imposter and left to rot in the wilderness. What could I do to temporarily prevent them from moving against me? The next moment, I knelt down with a thud and declared, "My father embezzled and accepted bribes, using the stolen silver to fund the second prince's troops. Your Highness, I can help you find the evidence to bring him down." The Crown Prince's face paled. "Is this true?" "Every word is true. The Fong family believes I'm merely a foolish woman blinded by sudden wealth. And with my death approaching, they've let their guard down. By feigning ignorance, I've uncovered many secrets." The Crown Prince couldn't fathom it. "How could you be so ruthless toward your own parents?" I lifted the corners of my mouth slightly. "Your Highness will understand my reasons in time. I will aid you with all my strength, asking only that you spare my life." I returned to the Ministry of Revenue. Though not as they imagined, I came back in grand style. Seated in the Crown Prince's palanquin, the palace attendants escorted me to the gate, announcing, "His Highness is deeply concerned for your safety. He commands us to bring the imperial physician daily to examine your injuries." Fong Nian froze, exchanging bewildered glances with his wife. He forced a laugh and asked, "How many days? Will the physician be coming?" "At least half a month." Both spouses paled. With physicians visiting daily, they'd find it impossible to slip me the life-swapping potion. After all, my health deteriorated visibly each day. The physicians would easily detect something amiss. Fong Nian believed waiting half a month would allow them to keep manipulating me. Little did he know, events would unfold far beyond their expectations. The Crown Prince began sending small gifts to the mansion periodically, specifically addressed to me. All trinkets and gowns, things bound to spark speculation. Madame Fong could no longer sit idly by. That night, she came to my chamber, adopting the guise of a loving mother to share a private conversation. Yun Yang, dear, tell your mother, what exactly is your relationship with His Highness the Crown Prince? I froze at her words, immediately lowering my head in feigned modesty. His Highness the Crown Prince merely remembers my kindness in shielding him from the blade. There's nothing more to it. The more I denied it with my words, the more coy my demeanor became, the more it seemed I was hiding something. Madame Fong left with a look of profound complexity. The next day, as we were having lunch, Chunner bounded in excitedly to report. Miss, His Highness the Crown Prince sent word to invite you to enjoy the spring scenery this afternoon. His attendants will come for you shortly. Understood. I feigned composure, serving food to Lady Fong, who stood frozen, chopsticks suspended midair. Mother, is your appetite poor? Of course their appetites were gone. They'd finally found the crucial ingredient to save their daughter's life. Only for the Crown Prince to take a fancy to the fake daughter meant to die in her place. This was a chance to soar to new heights. But if they bet everything on the fake daughter, who would save the real one's life? Regardless of their turmoil, I still accompanied the Crown Prince out of the mansion that afternoon. His carriage headed straight for the city gate. What you requested has been prepared. I'm curious, what exactly do you intend to do? Inside the carriage, I wore simple garments. My long hair tied back, sleeves rolled up. Your Highness will see soon enough. Porridge and steamed buns were laid out at the city gate. I stood behind the large pot, directing the Ministry of Rights servants to call out. Free porridge from the Minister of Rights household at the city gate. Come quickly! Street beggars swiftly noticed and rushed to join the line. Word spread like wildfire. Within half an incense stick's time, a long queue formed at the soup stall. I ladled a full bowl of hot porridge for each person. A woman clutched her emaciated child. Only when the white porridge touched his lips did the nearly unconscious boy begin to suckle. He's saved! My child is saved! The woman knelt, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, young lady, for saving my child's life. Who are you? A bodhisattva? I'll serve you as ox or horse in my next life to repay your kindness. Before I could speak, Chunner announced loudly. Our young lady is the daughter of Minister Fong, the Minister of Revenue. Hearing this, the other refugees knelt and cried out. Miss Fong has the heart of a bodhisattva. Watching these people only made me despise the Fong family even more. The wealth they'd stolen from the people was precisely what these souls needed to survive. But it didn't matter. Soon enough, every penny would be returned. Returning to the mansion, I saw the 70-year-old servant Shinshio still wearing only a single layer. Offhandedly, I instructed Chunner, take the gold hairpin mother gave me and exchange it for silver. Buy everyone an extra winter garment, this winter promises to be bitterly cold. The old servant froze, then knelt with a thud. Thank you, miss. Thank you. Within a day, word spread throughout the manor that I had provided winter clothes for the servants. That night, I lay awake, faintly hearing commotion. That direction, Fong Rushing's courtyard. I rose silently and crept closer to the courtyard. There she was, clad in thin garments, raving mad in the dilapidated courtyard. They all cried, Miss, Miss, who truly is this household's young mistress? Having stopped the life-swapping potion for so long, she couldn't exchange lives with me. Her madness seemed to have worsened. That bitch is my medicine. What does she think she is? Madame Fong soothed her tearfully. Ru Qing. My daughter. Wait a little longer. Your parents won't abandon you. That girl is merely your medicine. I lifted the corner of my mouth slightly. True to form, even if I had a chance to become crown princess. They chose their own daughter. But that suits me just fine. Early the next morning, Lady Fong sent a bowl of soup. The familiar life-swapping potion again. Mother. You've been so thoughtful. But it looks a bit hot. I'll go fly my kite for a while before drinking it. Madame Fong's confidant, Old Chin, gave a nervous chuckle and agreed, eager to wait until I drank the soup before reporting back. But the next second, the kite string snapped. The kite drifted straight into another dilapidated courtyard. I'm going to retrieve it. Old Chen's face turned pale as she grabbed me by the arm. No. You can't go. I slapped her across the face. As the daughter of my parents, where in this house can I not go? Since they all say I'm the daughter of the Minister of Revenue, is it wrong for me to be a little arrogant and overbearing? Not at all. Chinpo was stunned by my slap. By the time she came to her senses, I had already reached the gate of Fong Ruqing's courtyard. She was painting in the courtyard and turned pale when she saw me. Who are you? I stared at her and smiled. My father is the Minister of Revenue. This is my home. I should be asking who you are. Hearing this, her face turned pale with fury. You're not. You're not. I turned my head and asked Chunner. Who is this young lady? Chunner looked at her timidly and stammered. It's the previous fake young lady. Shut your filthy mouth. You worthless servant. I'll beat you to death. Fong Ruqing's face twisted into a fury as she lunged forward to strike. In her haste, she knocked over the painting she'd been working on. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of it. It depicted His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Everything suddenly made sense. Why they'd suddenly become so desperate to find someone to swap lives with. To cure Fong Ruqing's madness. Because the Crown Prince's selection of a consort was imminent. And Fong Ruqing was deeply in love. I pretended to help her pick up the painting. Fong Ruqing shouted angrily. Don't touch my painting. She lunged forward to grab it. I seized the moment and whispered softly in her ear. From now on, you'll only be the fake. I am the only daughter of the Fong family. I will marry His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and help father rise to the highest ranks. Fong Ruqing's eyes widened. The next moment, she clutched her head and screamed. You lied to me. You lied to me. Ruqing! Madame Fong arrived belatedly. Seeing Fong Ruqing's deranged state, she rushed to embrace her in fright. Mother's here. Mother's here. I feigned hurt and asked. Mother, didn't you say she was the daughter of that heartless servant from years ago? Why is she still in the mansion? Fong Ruqing whipped her head toward Lady Fong, who looked awkward and gave a forced laugh. After all, we've been mother and daughter for so long. There's some affection there. Fong Ruqing stared at her in disbelief. Mother. I smiled and wrapped my arm around Lady Fong's. By the way, Mother, His Highness the Crown Prince invited me to listen to music this afternoon. Could you help me pick out a dress? Madame Fong had no choice but to follow me out. Before leaving, I had someone pass Fong Ruqing a note. The Fong family was abandoning her. If she didn't believe it, she could come with me today to see for herself. Madame Fong kept a close watch on her. So Fong Ruqing had to disguise herself as a maid to accompany me. From our quarters to the estate gates, every servant we encountered bowed their heads and respectfully addressed me as Miss. Even before boarding the carriage, the old servant beamed as he lifted the curtain for me. Miss, it's grown colder lately. We've lined the curtains with thick velvet for your comfort. Thank you. Fong Ruqing's face turned ashen. I had her join me in the carriage. Then we alighted to stroll the streets. After days of distributing free porridge, Nearly everyone recognized me. "Miss Fong, try our steamed cakes." I stopped before a pastry shop, and Chunner stepped forward to ask, "How much for the steamed cakes?" The woman hurriedly replied, "Others pay 1 cash per piece. But if Miss Fong buys them, they're free." Fong Rushing gritted her teeth and demanded, "Why shouldn't she pay?" She couldn't fathom it. Whenever she'd gone out before and fancied something without paying, these commoners would curse her behind her back. Why? When it came to me, did they rush to give things away? The woman smiled innocently. "Miss Fong is a great benefactor. A bodhisattva reincarnated. She's saved so many displaced people, how could I possibly take money from a bodhisattva?" At her words, the other vendors chimed in. "That's right. Miss Fong doesn't pay for anything from my stall either. Miss Fong, these are fruits I picked fresh this morning, please try them. It's our honor that Miss Fong has taken an interest in our wares." Fong Rushing's hands trembled uncontrollably with rage. She grabbed her hair, as if enduring something unbearable. Seeing this, I urged her to keep walking, my tone a mix of statement and boast. "See? Now, whether inside or outside the mansion, everyone recognizes only me as Miss Fong." Fong Rushing glared at me viciously. "You won't be laughing for long. Is that so?" I smiled at her. "Oh, I forgot to mention, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince intends to marry me." Fong Rushing's eyes widened. Just then, a man with a fat head and big ears approached, dressed in gold and silver. He looked utterly vulgar. He even made lewd gestures toward passing girls. I pointed at him and declared, "That's General Yan's only son. Last night, Mother mentioned that considering your years of mother-daughter affection, she wants you to marry into the General's household as the Fong family's adopted daughter. It'll give you some security for the rest of your life." Fong Rushing stared at that debauched son in utter disbelief. I added fuel to the fire. "Barring any surprises, that's your future husband." "Impossible. Absolutely impossible." Fong Rushing began tearing at her hair, muttering incoherently. But young Master Yan caught sight of Fong Rushing, mesmerized by her beauty. He reached out to grope her as he always did. "Ooh, such a lovely young lady, any plans for marriage? My inner courtyard could use some company." This provoked Fong Rushing to her core. Screaming wildly, she yanked the hairpin from her hair and plunged it into young Master Yan's neck. Raving madly, she screamed, "Disgusting! You filthy thing, how dare you!" Crimson blood splattered across the floor. The incident unfolded so swiftly that nearly everyone froze in shock. Only when young Master Fong's eyes bulged wide and blood gushed from his mouth did screams erupt in waves. Chunner backed away, shielding me in terror. But Fong Rushing, now utterly deranged, had already withdrawn the hairpin after killing young Master Yan. Her eyes blazed with fury as she fixed me with a glare. "It's all your fault. You'll never replace me. I am the Crown Prince's consort." She charged at me, the hairpin raised like a weapon. I feigned panic, with nowhere to flee. At the critical moment, the Crown Prince arrived with his men, pulling me behind him. He frowned and commanded in a deep voice, "To commit murder in broad daylight? Arrest her." Only upon seeing the Crown Prince did Fong Rushing regain some clarity. She dropped the hairpin in terror and screamed frantically as guards pinned her to the ground. "Your Highness, I need to find my father. Wah! I need to find my father." The Crown Prince waved his hand, and Fong Rushing was led away, wailing and struggling. After the crowd dispersed, his gaze toward me grew dark and inscrutable. "How did you know that Yen fellow would take this route?" "These past few days, I've encountered him here every time I've ventured out." "You deliberately provoked Fong Rushing. How could you be certain she'd commit murder in public?" The carriage was perpetually filled with irritating incense, and Fong Rushing herself suffered from madness. She couldn't withstand the provocation. The Crown Prince paused. I didn't expect you to cause a death. I bowed my head and replied. Your Highness, perhaps there's a misunderstanding. I've never been a kind person. And besides, those I scheme against are never good people either. Congratulations, Your Highness. Fong Yen and the General of Distant Conquest were the third prince's right and left arms. Now, both arms are gone. Just as I said. When news spread that young Master Yen had been killed in the street by Fong Ruching, witnessed by the Crown Prince himself, the entire court erupted. Fong Ruching was the Fong family's only legitimate daughter. Born after Lady Fong endured a night of difficult labor. To protect her, Fong Yen disregarded alliances and court intrigues. He worked through the night gathering evidence, finding witnesses to prove that young Master Yen was notorious for his wicked deeds. A notorious bully in the capital. Fong Ruching had merely acted in self-defense when harassed, accidentally killing him in the heat of the moment. His betrayal enraged General Yen completely. His son had indeed committed countless misdeeds, but he was also the sole heir of 6 generations. A precious son long awaited until the general reached 60. Upon receiving the news of his death, the general's wife fainted from overwhelming grief. Determined to seek justice for his son, General Yen began leveraging his connections, filing charges against Fong Yen for abuse of power, embezzlement, and bribery. He was resolved to make the Fong family pay. The two families soon found themselves locked in a bitter feud, seemingly destined for an all-out war. After exhausting every possible connection, the Fong family finally remembered me. Madame Fong, her eyes red, came to appeal to my emotions. Yun Yang, our family is now under scrutiny. If this continues, your father's position might be at risk. You have a good relationship with His Highness the Crown Prince. Could you ask him to lend a discreet hand? I silently wiped my tears with a handkerchief. Of course. I've only just returned home. Who could have foreseen such calamity? Rest assured, Mother. Tomorrow at the Supreme Court hearing, His Highness will testify that Fong Ruching acted in self-defense. Madame Fong finally exhaled in relief. That's good. That's good. You truly are your mother's dearest daughter. The cases involving the Fong and Yen families had exposed their respective corruption, a matter of utmost gravity. On the second day, the Emperor's personally appointed presiding judge sat upon the dais, flanked by the 3 judicial commissions. The Crown Prince took the stand as agreed and declared, I witnessed it myself, the Fong family's daughter drew her hairpin to defend herself, wounding the assailant. At these words, Fong Yen immediately exhaled in relief. But before he could catch his breath, the chief judge continued, though the street assault case is settled, new witnesses have emerged in the case of Minister of Revenue Fong Yen's embezzlement and bribery. Fong Yen was stunned. He had always handled his affairs with meticulous care over the years. Where could these witnesses come from? Only when he saw me did the color drain from his face in an instant. It's you. I knelt before the court and declared in a clear voice. I am Fong Yen's daughter. I testify that my father embezzled and accepted bribes, misappropriated disaster relief funds, formed factions for personal gain, and privately maintained troops. The court erupted in uproar. The presiding judge, unaccustomed to such a daughter-accusing father scenario, immediately demanded, Do you have evidence? I pulled a bundle from my bosom. These are Fong Yen's ledgers and correspondence with his accomplices. His personal seal is on each for verification. From the moment I produced these items, Fong Yen grew restless. Before I could finish speaking, he stormed forward, his face ashen, bellowing, You vile woman! You seek to ruin me! He declared with righteous indignation. This girl speaks nothing but lies. She is not my daughter at all, merely an orphan I took in out of pity. Never did I imagine she would repay kindness with betrayal, seeking to destroy the Fong family. Hearing this, the Crown Prince looked at me with some shock. I, however, gazed at Fong Nian with an expression of profound sorrow. Choking out, "Father, I simply couldn't bear to watch you make mistake after mistake. How can you say I'm not your daughter? So many people can testify to it." Who? Who could possibly testify? Little did he know. I truly had witnesses. First to take the stand were the household servants. Chunner and the attendants knelt before the hall and declared. The master declared the young lady to be his long-lost biological daughter. Everyone heard it. He ordered me to attend to her carefully, without error. He also stated that the original Miss Fong Rushing, was an imposter. General Yin flew into a rage, charging forward to kick him. "You bastard. Fong Nian, you'd rather go down with me than give up this fake daughter?" Fong Nian was at a loss for words. Next came the street vendors. "Isn't that the Fong family's daughter? Everyone knows her. Miss Fong has such a kind heart. She helps the displaced people, truly a bodhisattva's compassion." Fong Nian's face drained of color. He never imagined that bringing me in as his decoy was merely to imprison me at home for a few days of deception. Once he secured a replacement, he could simply tell his servants it was a mistake, that I wasn't his daughter, but rather a diseased girl who died suddenly. He thought my daily outings were to play with the crown prince, unaware they were to win the people's trust. Now everyone swore I was his daughter. The testimony of this kind-hearted, trusted daughter held more weight than any evidence. After thorough investigation, those ledgers and letters proved genuine. Fong Nian was convicted, his estate confiscated. But his crimes were so grave, that his entire family was imprisoned, awaiting execution, including me, his so-called daughter, locked in the same cell with the Fong family. Fong Nian seethed with hatred, wishing to flay me alive. "You venomous bitch! Why did you destroy my entire family?" Watching their anguished expressions, I couldn't help but laugh. Enough with the act. We all know the truth. Don't you know whether I'm your daughter or not? The Fong couple froze, suspicion in their eyes. "You. What do you know?" Fong Rushing's madness has reached a point beyond cure. "You claimed I was your daughter only to swap lives with her. From start to finish, you treated me as nothing more than a disposable catalyst. Am I not right?" Madame Fong's face drained of color. She stammered. When did you find out? When did you find out?" "Oh, I knew the moment you stopped me at the city gate. Playing along with your charade this long has been exhausting." Fong Nian sneered. "What good does this do you? You're still going to die with us." I smiled without answering. Having done what I must, the rest is now in the Crown Prince's hands. That was our deal. Now that Fong Nian and the General of Distant Conquest have fallen, he can easily place his own men in both positions. He promised to spare my life, he should keep his word. Right? I thought I could trust him. But I waited and waited, until the day of execution came with no word. Only when death was upon me did panic finally set in. No way. Did I screw up? Hurry. It's time to go. The jailers dragged us toward the execution ground. Fong Nian's family wept in terror, begging for mercy. I forced myself to walk upright. The path from the dungeon to the execution ground stretched along a long street. As we stepped out, the Crown Prince galloped toward us on horseback. "His Majesty commands. He specially bestows this pardon token." Fong Nian's face lit up with joy as he sobbed. "I knew His Majesty wouldn't be so heartless. This golden token is not for you." The Crown Prince walked straight past him, handing the token to me with a faint smile. I always keep my word. Seeing his last hope vanish, Fong Nian turned deathly pale. With nothing left to lose, he pointed at the Crown Prince and shouted, "Very well. So you two colluded to frame me. I refuse to accept this. Why should she live? If she claims to be my daughter, she should die with me. This amulet must have been obtained through your abuse of power. I will lodge a formal complaint. The crown prince watched him with a cold smile. This amulet. I did not request it. Hearing this, I too froze. The crown prince, mimicking my own habit of keeping people in suspense, said, "Continue walking forward. You will understand soon enough." Following the Fong family toward the execution ground, I was stunned to see commoners lining both sides of the road, kneeling and holding white cloths bearing the words, "Sacrificing kin for justice. Yun Young is innocent." From within the crowd, someone cried out. Yun Young sacrificed her own kin to secure 1,000,000 silver taels for disaster relief. "We beseech your majesty to pardon her." These words ignited the crowd, and they roared in unison, "Your majesty, pardon Yun Young." Among them were beggars covered in grime, women cradling infants, and traveling merchants. The crown prince murmured beside me, "They've pleaded your case daily in the streets and before the palace gates. I merely showed his majesty their suffering. This pardon is what they've begged for." Watching this, my eyes finally grew moist. I had thought this world treated me unfairly, encountering no good man, only to be reborn as another sacrificial offering. Yet now I see, kindness in this world is so abundant. On the day the Fong family was executed, the people cheered loudly. Amidst those cheers, I quietly rode in a carriage to the outskirts of the capital. The capital I'd longed to leave was finally behind me. The crown prince saw me off in plain clothes. After a long moment of hesitation, he finally spoke. "You truly intend to leave?" I clutched the silver in my arms tighter. "Your Highness wouldn't be changing your mind and asking for the silver back, would you?" He gave a wry smile. "I merely wish to ask what your plans are for the future." I considered this, a faint smile touching my lips. "Your Highness likely doesn't know, but I make splendid tofu. In the future, I plan to find a small town, open a tofu shop, hire a few nimble assistants, and pass down my craft of making tofu." Chunner popped her head up from the side and declared, "Then I want to learn too." Her words made me laugh until I was breathless. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the crown prince's expression grow complex. He murmured softly, "If you seek stability, why not come to the Eastern Palace? Your Highness, the palace has no shortage of cooks who know how to make tofu." I believe he understood. What I've ever sought is not stability, but freedom. "Do not forget the promise you made to me." The crown prince gazed at me for a long moment, then nodded with a smile. "I will thoroughly investigate that demonic Taoist, Xian Qing. I will put an end to this life-swapping sorcery. I trust your Highness." Then, "Farewell. Take care, your Highness." The crown prince gave his horse a light kick, clearing the way. Mountains loomed high. The road stretched far until we meet again. I lowered the carriage curtain. Chunner cracked her whip. "Giddy up!" The carriage sped down the road, vanishing into the distance. It was a place full of unknowns, but I believed my future would surely be bright. The end.